Welcome to The Life Engineer with Matty J. He unpacks and interviews guests to share the tools, components, and software that's needed to build a life and mindset by design versus one of default.
Bosh, welcome to the podcast, Ingrid Lill.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Lill Branding, Visual Thinkers.
Yes.
So I was saying we've known each other. I actually looked up on our Facebook messaging, and it went back that I connected to you ages ago when I was setting up Think and Believe, because your style and your characters for the gardening analogy was something that I questioned and asked you about. And so I've been following your stuff for ages. And now I'm a client.
Mm-hmm.
So I work with you. If you just explain, so what it is you do?
Yeah, I'm a what do you call that? A communication designer, maybe, turned branding coach, I would say. I used to be a graphic designer for many years and did all kinds of stuff, logos, corporate identities, and websites. And I also like to draw, but I didn't draw for business. I just drew for fun and for art, and yeah. And then at some point I decided that I have enough of this being a generalist, and although it was fun, didn't want to do just websites for people who came along. I wanted to do drawing, get more drawing into my business, and therefore I had to teach myself drawing. There was also a side thing where I did graphic facilitation at conferences where I was drawing for what people were saying, and I learned taught myself a system to draw simple illustrations. And then I saw this is a kind of drawing that I can actually use in my business, which is something that I didn't dare to do before because I thought I wasn't good enough. And then from there, my business, the drawings took over and led me into a different direction that is really exciting. So what I'm doing now is I'm helping coaches, consultants, and companies to find their message through visual thinking. That means I draw a picture together with them about their business and about their business communication.
So and this is why I wanted you to come on the podcast. So for me in marketing, I always talk about those pieces in the puzzle. Mm-hmm. That when you put those pieces in place, that things start to work and start to happen. Mm-hmm. So for me, the process was good in getting me a little bit clearer in what I saw myself and my
the brand storyboarding process. Yeah.
And I think this is why it's good to get you on, because it has got a marketing ability, but also for me, so I'm part of the Business Thinkers Club for the drawing techniques. So there's sort of like two aspects to it. Is there's actually the drawing part, which we're getting better. I drew a picture of a jigsaw. It's getting better. I did a second one. It's getting better. But that process of the technique is one thing, but the marketing thing. So it brings us on to the storyboarding.
I mean, maybe we have to say first. There's two things I'm doing: one-to-one work with clients where I draw and I help them get clear about their messaging, and the other thing is I'm giving classes in doing it yourself. Drawing and also expressing your message yourself through drawing and writing.
So we can talk to them, and you can use me as an example, or we can just talk about the storyboarding part of it. Because so where is the power? What's the point is that the notes I've made down? If you wanted to just talk to that. Yeah,
the power, as I see it, is that my clients typically are creative, because I think creative people I attract creative people, and they have lots of ideas. So these ideas are kind of floating around in their head, and then they write it down, make lists and stuff, but it's never really connected. So I help them connect the dots by drawing the thoughts out on paper. And I have a system that is, first we draw their client before, or yesterday we drew your client before, what they're suffering of, their pain points, and the outer and the inner turmoil they're going through. So this is the left part of the picture, and then I write also what do they want, the vision. So the picture is mostly about my clients' clients, and putting it in a spatial order, I think really helps to sort out your thoughts and sort out what you're doing. And then having it in picture form and in a spatial connection helps also to go back to another piece of the make an arrow and draw these connections. And sometimes often, always there is also some kind of aesthetic element to it that helps. Like on the left side, there where the client has problems, there's a chaotic energy, and these elements have to be ordered on the right side, so it makes maybe a beautiful or a coherent whole. And if the picture looks coherent, there's chances that your business is also.
Yeah, I think this is the thing for me. So I'll put on and edit the video of our work from yesterday, so people can see that before and after, and I'll show that up as we're chatting, because that getting clear before, not just getting clear on the sitting in the pain and understanding, like, what is it that the customer's sitting in, like what's the story of how they're thinking, the feeling, the outside influences, and all of the things that are going on. It's good to sometimes talk to, and I don't think maybe people do that enough to understand what they're talking to. And that's some of what I got from yesterday, is when the marketing or talking to is talking to the pain that they're sitting in and how that feels and what that looks like. And visually it's good. It's better when you do it because it looks clearer. And that art of making it look clearer, of how they're sitting there with a confused face and people looking in different directions. And then you cut and paste that to the other side, so suddenly people are looking, even changing their eyes, where they're looking together, and changing the brows. I had a client that said to me, before he worked with me, he came to work, and he'd been working at a job where he felt like he'd started the day 2-0 down. And at the end of it, he now feels like he comes to work, and when he wakes up, he feels like he's already winning 2-0. And that was that before and after, which for me, that was good, because a lot of the time in what we do, we don't understand that transformation. And that comes back down to that story. And I've been watching the video, and I'm reading the book that you sent over, back to that hero's journey of picking that.
That's also the part, a thing that often when we talk about our business, then we talk about what we do and what we do, while the effective thing is to talk about the client and what the client's transformation. So the client is the hero, not you. You are the guide who's helping the hero to get out of the pit and into paradise.
And on the drawings, then that's us in the middle.
Yes.
So before I came to you, I was unclear, or sometimes that you're not even aware that you're unclear of you've got this story. And then because I've got later on down, what do you do if clients have got too many ideas? And that was your issue with me, is that you're that filter that then says, calm down, Matt. Let's get clear, and then that process is what I've taken. So I call that interference. You know, on a TV, if you suddenly tune it to a point where it's clear, it's that message then becomes it's easier for me now to understand what I'm talking to.
And so also one advantage with the drawing is that you always can go back to the guy that you're talking to and ask him, do you want to hear about that? Do you want to hear about how many pages my workbook has and what are the chapters? And he probably doesn't. He probably doesn't care about the details. He just wants it to work and wants his pain to go away.
So he doesn't want to know about the font I use. My spelling errors.
Yeah, and probably not all the creative and clever ideas. He wants to know, is this for me or not?
So one thing I've wrote down is, what do people miss? So in for example, in what you've done with this process, what are the common things that people are missing in this storyboarding?
Before they do the storyboard.
So when they come to you, what are the things that they're generally missing?
Well, usually they want to, they mix up the three categories. They mix up what people want, what they dream about, and the tool of transformation, which is their service, and and mix up all the three categories. And also they often want to talk to too many peoples. So when I say, who is it you're helping? Well, I help this kind of coaches, and then I help software people, and I ask them to decide for one, because we can't draw everybody, and this is also an important focus. It's much easier to speak to one person than to speak to the whole world. I mean, of course you can help everybody, but for now it's better to focus on one thing, one offer.
Yeah, I like this.
And each offer needs its own communication and its own storyboard.
Yeah, I like that analogy with the essence of the bees to the flower, that it's when you get it right, it's simple, because they'll come because they need that, whatever it is. But it's standing in a station throwing a flower around when there's no bees around. It's just it's finding that connection, that link. So I've put down insight and getting clear and finding your message and style. So you have talked about this, but where do people start with that insight to their message?
To afterwards, when they have the message, when
yes,
they have the storyboard.
So getting the message, I guess, is the storyboard, the before and after. And then where do people start in unpacking that?
Once it's finished, you mean?
Yeah.
Well, then you have to look at all your communication, at your LinkedIn profile or social media profiles and your website, and see, does this website talk to my person? So basically you can take the storyboard and flip it. Well, I draw it from left to right, like a comic strip. And if you take it and flip it vertically, then you basically have a structure for your website. In the header, you have to define for who it is. Are you this kind of person? Do you suffer? Do you want this? You can put the vision up there. Are you dreaming about whatever, having a business that is in flow? So they know that you're talking to them. Then the next part will be, but there are obstacles and you feel like it's not going anywhere because this and this and this and this. If so, I can help. And then first you can start talking about your service.
Mm.
Yeah. and then testimonials and everything.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing that that I was missing in understanding that process and getting clear. But I think this so this insight and this creativity is a powerful one, and fear we've got down in the creative and the art side of it, because part of what you teach is people do their own drawings and sketch this out.
Well, it's not every it's actually most of my one-to-one clients never would touch a pencil,
right?
But some do. Some are courageous.
Yeah, but that's I think there's power in that creativity, but that may just be a personal thing for me.
There's also different things about drawing yourself. The kind of drawing that I'm doing in the storyboards is not drawing for beauty and art. It's not to you can hang it on the wall, but that's not the purpose. The purpose is just to get clarity. So it's kind of a working drawing, and it's very, very useful. And I don't know why we don't learn that in school, while drawing is always kind of is considered art, because this is such a useful tool to use with your own clients. Even if you never ever publish a drawing on social media, or you can still use the tools with your clients and to get clear yourself.
Yeah, I think so. I used our board that you did for me yesterday with a coaching client this morning. We were talking about branding, and he's excited, so he's got your links and he's gone to some of the videos. But I think in this creativity, and it was funny because he was saying that his wife likes drawing, and we started he started unpacking a little bit. But I could see that, and I think this comes back to this vision. If people have got a creative, or I think that's part of it. Everything stems from creativity, whether that's a chat up line to get a date, to building a house, to creating a CV. Like creativity, I think, comes from this Fibonacci, this space that everything comes from a point of creativity. I had a coach once that was working with me, and he asked me to list all of the things that I've got that I sort of treasure or that I valued. So like building this cabin at the end of the garden, like where did that come from? Well, that was an idea. I remember sitting in the garden with a deck chair and a hose, and I laid the hose out so I could have the window looking down the garden in my cabin, and my desk was here. I had a plastic garden chair, and I laid it out, and that was a creative vision of what I wanted. And I think if I look at like the first house I bought, I used to tell people, come down the road and it's the biggest shithole in the road. It's the biggest dump. It was the worst house. And I bought it because I had a creative idea to develop the house. And from that, let me get the house I've got now. And I think creativity, even with people that want to set their own business up, that it starts with that creativity and imagination of what could be. And I think it fires everything where people don't think they're creative. And I thought this for a while. I've just started, one of the reasons we connected was I just started thinking, well, creativity is something that I've looked forward to doing maybe when I retire. And part of me with my work is like, I've retired, I just live how I want to live. And why do I wait? And why can't I start doing it now? And this comes back to this fear of putting off what you could do to another day, when actually being creative and unpacking it is something that I think everyone has. They just don't call themselves an artist. I never called myself an artist, but when I started unpacking purpose, I understood that creativity was in everything that I loved. And I think with people that coming to a point, and storyboarding their brand could be the first part of it, that actually is in everyone to bring out. And this getting started and letting go to get, we talk about fear in terms of putting yourself out there. I think people have this with creating videos, or I'm not quite ready yet, I'll do that in a few weeks. And this jumping in with what I've done with drawing, boxing, I've done it, went back to boxing in September, started sparring, and I had a singing lesson a few weeks ago, and I had to stand there on Zoom in front of a woman, and we just got a puppy, and my wife came out with the puppy in the garden, the window was open, and she asked me to sing a verse, and I was sitting there and I was looking at my wife thinking she knew I was on a singing lesson, so why is she outside the cabin? I remember me getting a little bit angry, thinking that this is just me being fearful, like I don't want to sing in front of this young lady. And it's, I almost thought then I'd rather put my gum shield in and go and spar in a ring and box than actually sing. And this creativity, when we talk about fear, is just this this breaking through this plant pot into fear to become more of us. So do you find that with and I've put down here about habits and tools coming to the club, part of what I've got from it is just a reminder that I've got to practice the form of it and the art. So what I was saying, if you had clients that said they didn't have any ideas, or clients like me that have got too many ideas, if you spoke to that, where would you start?
I have never come across somebody who didn't have ideas and wasn't creative. I don't know if that is because that's just the people who I meet, or if that's generally like that. So I can't really answer that. They all have lots of ideas and are creative and kind of don't dare to express it. And I know that from myself. I was, for the most of my life, I would never have dared to draw while somebody was looking.
Right.
I thought I wasn't good enough, and it could be that it looked terrible and didn't want other people to see that. And it's funny that I'm now exactly doing the thing that I feared most. Like drawing in public would have been my worst, because I also wanted to keep up appearances that I'm professional. And now somehow I got over that. I don't really know how. I think it was just a decision that I wanted to change that.
Yeah, because I think, and that's why I like this conversation and sits well in the form of this podcast, because it is a case of breaking through these fears to be more.
And I remember when I started doing these kind of illustrations, that I thought, well, now I'm doing ugly drawings, and they are ugly, and that's it. And it's not about the drawing. That was a mind shift that I had. It's not about that I have to show off my drawings. It's I want to say something, and the drawing is just a vehicle for it. That's how I made the shift from trying to impress and make something beautiful to just using it as a tool.
Yeah,
and it was allowed to be terrible.
Yeah, I think that's an excellent point, is to allow yourself, like coming back to boxing, like to start off with, even just standing like this with a stance is uncomfortable for people that don't do it. They might put their hands up like this, and it's like, and then they throw a punch and they don't form it right. And it's in that process, it's in those habits that having someone to come back to, like we do in the workshops where you come back and you talk about the shading and the scale and stuff like that. It's having someone to come back to, red penning all my work, having someone coming back to a point that just to guide them, which is one of our points, that you guide them in where they could go. But that still is the essence, because there's your way, which is how you draw, and then there'll be my way, which won't be the same. So I did an avatar of my big head in my picture. Now I think I'm going to keep that, but you sort of question, the head size and that, and there's a point where, do you know what, that's just my thing. And there's a point for, like, the truth is a fine line with creativity, because it's everyone's different style, isn't it?
But what I encourage people to do is to experiment with different forms. So it might be that this is the kind of head that you want to draw, and okay, but if you want to develop as a communicator with your drawing, then it would be good if you also draw a different kind of head, so you learn something about expression and stuff. So it's in this course or in this club, it's not only about producing a drawing that you can use, but about learning the principles behind it. So that's why I have a whole recipe for how I draw, a simple way how I draw figures, which is really incredibly simple. And I know how that works, and I know that you learn something about expression if you have drawn this kind of head. Then if afterwards you do something completely different, that's fine. But if then the expression isn't as you want it, then you know why, because you have been through the basics.
Mm. Yeah, so it's good. I want to go back, because it's funny when you talk about the fear of you said at one point that you would never see yourself, or your worst fear is drawing in front of people. And then being on your workshops, it just seems effortlessly now. It's a bit like people that never thought they could box and then watch Lloyd Mayweather. They make it look so easy, but I just want to talk to what that now looks easy for you, like, what you do.
Actually, also, it's not only easy; it's the only way I want to draw. It's I find it boring to draw without people being with me. So also, if I do now illustrations, I'm getting together with my clients on Zoom, and we do them together, because that's much more fun. I get much more direct feedback. It's faster. It's then also cheaper for them than if I sit there alone and try to guess.
Yeah, it's funny. So I'm similar. Like, I'm more comfortable doing live videos than if you said I had to sit down and talk about something and then record it. I find that more uncomfortable than actually having a conversation. I'd rather, and I think that's why I started with the podcast, I'd rather have this conversation with you about it, because I could have done a video on how storyboarding helped me or being creative helped me, but it's not as comfortable in the flow. But you know, you're still at risk then of messing something up, but I quite like that. And I think that, but talking to that breakthrough at some point where that was there, and that was something that you never thought you'd get to, and then what was in between that. So you said at some point you made a decision.
Yeah.
Was that a decision?
The decision was, I remember the moment to go public with the drawings that were pretty ugly back then. And I was in a Facebook discussion about being in the now in some Facebook group, and I had a little drawing that was showing a figure trying to stay in the now by balancing on a spike on a curve or something like that, and it was fitting to the discussion. And then I posted it in the comment thread, and I remember how that my heart beat, and I was really scared of posting that. I don't understand it anymore, but that's where I was back then. Yeah.
I did a video. My first video was dancing without music, and I came up the cabin, and we was going on holiday. It was about 4 o'clock in the morning, and I did a video where I danced, and I talked about dancing without music, because dancing with music, when you've got everything you want, is easy. But when you take those things away, all the fear comes in of what people can do, and getting to that point where now it seems like you're dancing without music. You know, if people say anything, if they don't say anything, it's easier. Where at some point you had attachment to, well, they had to like it, or it had to be right, or people had to view it, or whatever. But there's this attachment in this fear of stepping through and making the statement you said, make ugly drawings. There's a guy that talked about writing, and I think it was a similar thing, like make ugly writing, but just write and then go back and correct it, but just throw up to a certain extent. So that creative flow.
Yeah, I have a great app or website for that. It's called the Most Dangerous Writing App or something like that. And that is you go on a website and there's a field where you can write, and you can have a timer like 5 minutes, and then it says write for 5 minutes now. And if you stop writing, then it deletes everything.
Oh, really?
So that's wonderful. It really has helped me sometimes to get going with writing.
Yeah, and I think this comes back to this point now of fear and getting in our own way, that these messages or this storyboarding and this branding thing is when you can create a system where you sit and practice unpacking and writing your stories, your clients' stories, and get clearer. It doesn't matter if the drawings are crap. That it's just the process of going through it that forms that end piece.
Yes.
So if someone was interested in getting help, at what point would they come and start? If there was someone on the watching this that thought that this was interesting.
Well, it's sometimes my clients have already a business like you that is working, and they just want to get clear about their communication so they know what they're selling. Then sometimes they also need help with deciding on what to niche down on. And then for that, I have a different process that I do before the storyboarding, which I call a superpower process, which is where I draw overlapping circles on the left side, we have your profession, then the personality, there's another circle called your passion, and one called problems. So it's 4 P's, and where these and the problem circle is other people's problems. So we go through the circles and fill them in and see if there is something that stands out. So this is to find out what your specialty is, or or in a longer coaching program, I also do this just to, it's kind of like the Ikigai diagram, but a little bit different. It works better for me.
Yeah. If you send over an example, I'll put that up as we're talking. It would have already gone up maybe on the video so people can see it. And then so if they come to you, because I think you do these free workshops that people can just come on.
Once a month actually is my plan. So the once a month I do a Lill Branding cafe, where I demonstrate how I draw, like for people who want to draw along, and then people can get into the hot seat and have me draw something for them. So it's like a 10 minutes session for free.
But that's about an hour's workshop, isn't it? It's not.
Yeah, it's an hour or a little longer. Yeah.
And that's free.
That's free.
Yeah, and then you've got the
the dates. Yeah, the date is on my website, and I have and for those who want to learn to draw and do it yourself and be in a community with other people, other visual thinkers, I have the Visual Thinkers Business Club, where there's a lot of courses and a weekly meeting, or almost weekly meeting, where I give feedback on drawings and teach something new, and they can request topics. Yeah.
And then your one-to-one.
And then the one-to-one, where I have 3 packages: 1 hour, 5 hours, 10 hours.
Good.
Or some people have a continuous.
Yeah, I think I might be one of them. I think I might be one of them. So So is there anything we've missed that you want to say about what you do or these processes?
I mean, that's what I do for business. I also just paint for fun, and I make weird dolls, and I make drawing projections on house walls to locally here to when there's an event for concerts or so. Draw, and this is also fun. I draw some patterns and something, and then the audience who's there, the people, I draw portraits of them, and they get projected to the house walls.
Funny.
Like really big. That's also fun.
So is there anything else
different
in terms of this process, in this creativity and this branding? Is there anything else you think that that we could talk about or cover that people might be struggling with?
There are many things. So one thing with branding people struggle with is first to focus on something and then translate it to their website. And what I also help them with, especially if it's a longer program I'm doing with them, is to come up with a marketing strategy and what kind of content they should put out there to reach. Because what you have to do is, the website alone doesn't help. You also need people to see the website. So you have to put breadcrumbs out there that are kind of a mini version of your final product. If you want, now we know who you're talking to, and you have to somehow reach them either on social media, if they're on social media, or on conferences, or do webinars, or whatever it is, what this kind of person would see. And then you give them helpful, free little breadcrumbs, like social media posts. And this is also something I'm helping with.
So I think there's two areas. There's people that are watching that have got a business, and there's this branding storyboard, which I think is powerful. But I also think this creativity of stepping out and people that have got an inkling to be creative, to come on and get out of themselves and start making ugly drawings is the second person that I think I'd like it to talk to, you know. All right, well, cheers for coming on. Thank you. So links to your website if anyone wants to come and see you. Yeah, lillbranding.com. And I'll put the links in the show notes and send it over there. So cheers. Thanks for coming on, Lill. Thank you for having me here. It was fun.